Hi there. Yeah, I'm a little bit late, so, you know, sorry, I got in a little bit late. I'm just now finishing up looking at what today is. Brazilian Blowout, Hazy IPA. We talked about that. What's tomorrow? Let's see what tomorrow is so I can know if it's anything worthwhile in writing it down. It is, tomorrow is Oncologist Day, Never Been Better Day, and Tooth Fairy Day. Okay, so Never Been Better Day. So tomorrow's Never Been Better Day. Well, there it is. That's all I'm going to say about it. How's everyone doing? I'm not in a RANDSANITY shirt. I know. First time in 82 episodes, I have not worn the RANDSANITY shirt. I might have worn like a roadie shirt, but look at that. I'm wearing a Psycho Bunny shirt. I went out to dinner and just got back. So good news. The HRC approved the demolition and design of the new apartment complex that will be going up at 1036 South Front Street. So on the 35th anniversary of the radio station, celebrating CD101 WWCD's start date, it is the official beginning of the sale date of the building that housed the radio station since 2010. So there you go. So that's my news. That is not a t-shirt. This is correct. This is a polo. Sorry. So there you go. Woo! 18 months I've been waiting since the radio station stopped to sell that building, and now I can finally sell it. So there you go. Yay. Maybe I can end this now. So that means I am going to have a garage sale. So I'm going to schedule one here very shortly to start getting rid of some of the stuff. So if you're interested, I will post it on the CD 101 1025 929 WWCD Facebook page. But it'll be happening here soon. I'll probably do a few weekends in a row because we can only do it during the day because there's no electricity. I know. It's just crazy. Anyway, welcome. Time to cut some shit up. It is. Hey, Randy. Hope all is well this week. Hi, Shane Rocky. Yes, definitely time to cut some shit up. We'll cut some shit up. Stage, bar, all of it. It's going. I told you about this guy. He co-starred in a series called Day Tripping with Stephen Hay and did some cameo work because he was the co-star. More cameo because I never got featured. Anyway, go check out the episodes. There's 9 of them. Make comment, and maybe I can do it again. That'd be great. That'd be wonderful for me. So I got here late, so I have a very brief list of the things going. Sorry, I gotta take my shoe off. I'm not used to wearing dress shoes, and this one's really uncomfortable. I used to wear dress shoes every day because I liked them. Now I don't wear them at all. I wear sneakers, and my toes are killing me. I know how women feel with those pumps that are making them like this, and not doing it. Not wearing my pumps and my heels. Anyway, sorry. I'm a little off because I got here so late. I literally didn't get into the building until 10:40. It's only been cranking for about 20 minutes. 1897, Oldsmobile first manufactured, originally called the Olds Motor Vehicle Company from Lansing, Michigan. So Oldsmobiles were made. I did not drive an Oldsmobile today. I drove in a Lexus. I got driven in a Lexus. 1942, Bambi is released by Disney. Good old Bambi with Thumper. A very heartwarming story of a deer and stuff. Oh my God, I have a picture of a deer. I guess I should have figured this out already. That a neighbor sent that was walking and sent me a picture of a Bambi, which I thought was great. I would have posted if I knew Bambi was today. I would have posted the picture. But it was a Bambi walking up the stairs of the ravine. You can see like the fuzzy and antlers and everything. Captured the picture, and I guess it was a really cool picture, so I should have posted it. But it was awesome. One of my very cool neighbors took that picture, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Bambi. Who knew? Bambi in the city. Okay, I live in the city, so seeing deer is just kind of weird. I don't understand it. Who knew? 1961. See, I jumped really big gaps tonight. 1961, Patsy Cline records "Crazy, Crazy, Crazy for." Apparently, what it said was she got the song from a struggling songwriter. Who is that struggling songwriter? Willie Nelson. How crazy is that? Struggling songwriter Willie Nelson is the one who got Patsy Cline the song "Crazy." I guess he wrote that. I can hear Willie's voice singing that with that sort of crazy, that Willie Nelson sound vibrato. But that's nuts. Who knew that? I had no idea that's how that worked. Huh. Patsy Cline, "Crazy." Interesting. 1966, the Beatles did their second show in St. Louis, Missouri, after driving 341 miles, a headline evening show, after driving 341 miles from an afternoon show that they did because the show the night before got rained out. So they performed it during the day so people would not be disappointed. How amazing is that? Oh, that was in Cincinnati, Ohio. Who knew? So I did a daytime show in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then drove 341 miles and performed another show that night. I don't know many bands that would do that. So come on, let's see Coldplay do that one. But see, I think I haven't researched, but I'm almost sure now that for them to be able to do that, it's exactly as I thought. They don't have backline. There were four guys with like guitars, drum, and that was it. They were very, very just down and dirty, basic. There was no big light shows. There was no huge production. It was the Beatles, and that was the show. So they didn't need all those stuff. They didn't need all the things and the lights and the fire and the stage and that stuff. They just got up on a pre-built stage and were like, "Boom, it's been a hard day's night." Right? That's it. Is that right, Beatles? Ringo says, right, it's the way it was. 1969, the first Gap store, Fall Into the Gap, opens on Ocean Avenue in San Francisco, California. That is where the first Gap store started. And I don't know how popular Gap is anymore since I never shop. I just wear the same old clothes. Usually I'm wearing, jeans and a black t-shirt that says RANDSANITY, because I have like 30 of them now. I just keep getting more. They get dirty, I buy new ones. I'm like Oprah. I only wear my underwear once and I throw it away. No, I can't afford that. What the hell? What do I look like, Oprah? You get a car and you get a car. I don't even have a car. Damn it. 1972, Grace Slick is maced by the police after calling them pigs. I did not get a chance to see where that happened. What was the circumstances surrounding the pigs calling name by Grace Slick? But I find that to be interesting that she was maced by the police. I get maced by the police. I've been maced by the police a few times, but I have a very famous mace by the police. Don't remember the year, but it was at the Ohio State University Stadium. We were on the field, and the police clearing the field had the giant, like, fire extinguisher size mace, and we're like, and I was like, and there's a picture of me somewhere, I don't know where it was, but I'm turning and you can see me do this, like covering my face as I'm getting maced. So yes, the police and mace, awesome. It's not great. Don't get maced by the police. It's no fun, I'm telling you. It hurts your eyes, your face, the whole bit. It was not a great day. I can remember that. 1980. See, I'm jumping giant blocks here. I'm going 10-year snaps here. I'm not even waiting for the small stuff. I didn't even find him. I'm just like, if it wasn't bold, highlighted, I'm like, moving on. Bill Ward, British drummer and co-founder of Black Sabbath, quits the band for the first time. Apparently, he must have quit more. But he quits for the very first time from Black Sabbath, where we recently just lost Mr. Osborne of said band. 1987, Patrick Swayze stars in Dirty Dancing. I don't think I've ever seen that movie in its entirety. I mean, I just don't believe I have. I think I've seen little parts of it, pieces of it, but I've never seen like big chunks of it. I just never wanted to watch it. Just never, I guess I missed the window. Oh, excuse me. I missed the window for it, and I just never saw Dirty Dancing in its entirety. Patrick Swayze, I guess the only image I can always think about from Patrick Swayze is in the Jake Gyllenhaal movie where he's a teacher and he's living a secret double life. And when his house burns down, they discover his secret double life. 1989, Voyager 2, which we talked about the other day because it only got launched a couple days ago, many years ago, starts its flyby past Neptune. Remember, that's the one that says, come visit us. It's got the gold record of humanity and points and says, Earth, come see us. Come visit. Check us out. We'll see how that works out for us at some point. 1992. Today is the day that federal agents went to go arrest Randy Weaver for weapons violations. That then began in the ensuing Ruby Ridge 11-day standoff starting tomorrow and ending with Ruby Ridge. You can read historically about that. I'm sure it'll come up and I'll have to talk about it a little bit. That was one of those very first of the federal agents' sort of missteps and miscalculations. We talked about David Koresh. His birthday was the other day. That was Waco. They did not learn the lesson from Ruby Ridge. I don't want another Ruby Ridge. Well, you didn't have one. 1999, Blade is released with Wesley Snipes. This I found funny. In 2001, How You Remind Me by Nickelback is released and becomes Billboard's Song of the Year for 2002. Now, I guess, so from Nickelback to My Sharona, we definitely have interesting ebbs and flows of what we consider the number one songs and what makes the top charts on Billboard for weeks and months at a time. I think at some point I would have to do historic research to see where those ebbs and flows are. Like, these years was very popular for Americana, and this was for pop, and this for rap, and this for alternative, and this for, because it just seems that we have, like, there's some songs that get released, but is there different times of the year or history that there was different genres of music that got more play, not just that month or that year? Was there a decade of something? Just wondering. 2017, North America experiences a total solar eclipse. I remember that one because we weren't going to see another one until 2024, or whatever it was, 23, 24, it was last year, right? Went 2024, which was super cool. I wound up driving out to the middle of nowhere into some dog track out in past Marysville. The traffic was bumper to bumper. I'm just like, okay, let's just take some side streets. And I just started like looking at GPS and finding it. And as it started to get close, I just found a golf course, and we just pulled into the parking lot and just parked and got out, and there was like this raging party going on. You could hear everyone just like hooting and hollering, and then like, watch the eclipse come, and all of a sudden it just got dark, and you could see this like dome of light outside the circle where we are, and there was this weird twilight, and it got cold. They were just like, oh my God, it's cold. That's so wild. And then, yes, I did take off my crazy sunglasses and, the solar glasses, and I did look directly at the eclipse because we were in the totality of it. So it wasn't even like the little dot, but you did get to see, you could see the whole, whatever the umbra or whatever they call that. But it was crazy cool. So it was definitely worth it, and in 2019, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the highest paid actor in Hollywood. 2019, $89.4 million. I'm wondering what he did. I don't remember what movie it was. Was it like Jumanji or something? I don't know. He must have been in a couple movies. But almost $90 million. That's not too shabby there, Dwayne "Rock" Johnson. Granny bought a huge 7-inch collection from WSR last year in the flea market. Do you have any history on WOSR? Don't know. I do not know. I'll have to check, Mr. Shane Rocky. Born on this day, 1904, Count Basie. Good old Count Basie. Good music guy right there. 1936, just put in there because it's so famous. Wilt Chamberlain was born. The big basketball guy himself, Wilt Chamberlain. Also born on this date, 1938, the gambler Kenny Rogers. You got no one to hold him, and you got no one to fold him. Been holding him for a long time. 1939, Clarence Williams III. Okay, if you know who Clarence Williams III is, I saw the name and I'm like, wait, is that? And I was right. I actually remembered it. It was Link from the Mod Squad. Link from the Mod Squad. That was one of those shows that I just somehow caught like at some point in my youth and always watched the Mod Squad. Link from the Mod Squad. Clarence Williams III. 1954, two-time Heisman Trophy winner. Born in Columbus, Ohio. Cincinnati Bengals. I think he just retired, but assistant athletic director for The Ohio State University, all that good stuff. Mr. Archie Griffith. Happy birthday to Archie Griffith. 1956, Kim Cattrall. She's been in all sorts of movies and TV stuff. And then 1961, he's dead now. This sucks. Steven Hillenburg. And you don't know who Steven Hillenburg is. I do, because when the first episode came out, I was immediately hooked as a full-grown adult, and I still love it. He created SpongeBob. SpongeBob SquarePants. That is right. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea. Yellow and porous, absorbent is he. If nautical nonsense is something you wish, then drop on the deck and flop like a fish. SpongeBob SquarePants. Mr. Steven Hillenburg, born on this day in 1961. The only person that I even found, because I went so fast, I was like, oh my God, it is 10:58. I can't even look through the list of deaths with Ettore Bugatti, the guy who makes Bugatti, who, the namesake for these super expensive $1 million cars, Bugatti. And I did see that Buttafuoco was in there too. Amy Fisher, maybe it's her birthday. I think it was her 51st birthday. Amy Fisher is the one that shot Mary Jo Buttafuoco having the affair with Joey Buttafuoco. Amy Fisher. I guess she's out of jail now. I don't know. Didn't really know. I just remember seeing that Bugatti made me think about Buttafuoco, and then I saw Buttafuoco. David Letterman had a blast with that when it was out because he liked saying Buttafuoco. I just think because, he was trying to get the censors to bite at him saying those words together. I don't think they ever did. That was just the way it was. All right, so let's see. maybe a little radio history since it's the birthday. Oh, yes. I will factually admit that, yes, it has been a very strange existence not working at the radio station. I spent most of my adult life in that genre. Did that for 30 years. And so it's very strange to, a little more than 30 years, but basically 3 decades of my life being in the radio business. So not being in that business is a little weird. Not having a job is even weirder. To be honest, it's very strange. But I've told the story, if you don't know the story, the brief history of me, and brevity is not my strong suit. I've said that before, so, if you want a short story, go look, to ChatGPT, because it ain't me. But the station started in 1990, August 21st, at a little salt box cinder block building at 1721 South High Street, Columbus, Ohio 43207. It was run by a company called out of Video Services out of New Jersey, and they basically were flippers. They would look for underutilized markets where they could put a signal in and then put it for sale. They did that. They found in Grove City, Ohio, had enough populace that they could apply for a construction permit for a radio station with the call letters of WWCD. The station went on the air on this day, 35 years ago. Very alternative. Immediately went for sale. It was sold in the springtime to a business owner, Roger Vaughn. Roger Vaughn lived in Arlington, Ohio with his wife, Wendy. And then they eventually had 3 children, Sarah, Zach, and Katie. Roger was a champion of radio. He just he worked as a investor and such, and an entrepreneur, and he was out in developer. He was out in Colorado, and he heard of the station KBCO. And when he came back, he found the station was for sale. He always wanted to do it, and he did it. He bought it, and took over the station in the spring, early summer of 2000 or of 1992 or 1991. I stumbled in the door in the summer of '91, about just under a year when the station had started. That fall, I became one of the very first interns, non-paid intern kid. My job was to drive the ice cream truck and go to promotions. Very quickly, I became that guy that did all the promotions and stuff. When I graduated from the Ohio State University in the spring of 1992, I was given a job. My mortar board, I had a 101 bumper sticker on it. Well, a lot of my friends all graduated college and then went off and did stuff. Let's go take a gap year skiing and all those things. I pretty much had done that already before I came back to school at Ohio. Being I went to school in New Jersey, drove an ambulance, went to college there, got degrees. So I just started working. Graduated on a Sunday, graduated Friday, started working on Monday, full-time as the assistant promotions director. And I was the assistant to no one. There was no promotions director. There was a marketing director. Her name was Wendy Steele. Wendy Steele was a radio person that worked for QFM 96. Her mom, Miriam Steele, actually owned, I just forgot about it. Oh, Press Grill, the old Press Grill on High Street in the Short North when it was a dive. And Miriam, we'd go visit all the time at the press. And that's where you would go into the Press Grill. Wendy was a very interesting, fun person. We got along really well. She left us October 1st. 18 years ago now? 19 years ago? 19 years ago, October 1st. So, or maybe even 20 years ago. Maybe it's the 20th anniversary. I'll have to look. Could be the 20th anniversary of her passing. It might be. But October 1st, 20 years ago. Wendy taught me lots, but she didn't want to do it anymore. She was the promotions director, marketing director, but she didn't want to do it anymore. So after being there for a few years, we came up with this scheme and said, okay, Wen, why don't you do this? You go into sales. I will take your job. You basically, I'll promote you and you elevate me to that. So we kind of went with that scheme, and we enacted that plan, and got the owner and management to do exactly that. So she took a sales position. I then took the director of marketing position and became the marketing director for WWCD CD 101. About that time, we moved locations from 1721 South High Street to 503 South Front Street. That was when the brewery district was in its heyday. The arena district didn't exist yet, and the brewery district, the patio, there was 24 bars down there, from everyone from Hagen's and Keegan's and Gibby's, Howl at the Moon, and it was just, we would call it the nightly parade because everyone would go stumbling past the glass doors where we would set up lounge chairs and a cooler and watch everybody go walking past us, going to and from the bars on these evenings, and we just sat there laughing and having a good old time coming back from promotions and things with the radio station. Those were the days. Those were the glory days, because again, we were sort of running it by the seat of our pants. We didn't know what we were doing. It was a startup. Roger pretty much gave us complete freedom to do what we wanted. We just had to execute promotions for the marketing department. So that's sort of where we cut our teeth. Marketing and promotions did all the things that sales sold, from bar nights to tailgates, from live appearances to stage announcements at concerts and stuff. That's what we did. So we were out 5-6 nights a week, every week, 365 days a year, 24/7. Rock stars coming in from the Pixies to the Foo Fighters, from Jack Black to Moby. I mean, that's it. We were the alternative station in the city. And this was the glory days. It was absolutely crazy how crazy it was, how we just kept going, kept doing it over and over again. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, night after night, night after night. Concerts, promotions, concerts, promotions. So we did that for a long time. And then one day, after many years of this, the owner at the time, Roger Vaughn, basically handed me an envelope and said, "Don't open this." And I said, "What? What is this? Oh, crap, I'm fired." So, of course, I ripped it open and read it. And I said, "Oh, shit, I'm fired." And read it a second time. And I'm like, wait. I'm not fired. My boss is fired? And wait, what? Huh? I read it the third time, very carefully this time, without the emotion of freaking out, and realized, wait. Okay, I'm not fired. My boss is fired, and I'm the boss. And I was like, holy shit. I am now the director of operations. So basically, the general manager position had been eliminated, and they just made it, the DM, the director of management, director of operations, the DO, and I'm like, holy shit. So I just basically took that role and continued doing what we did, just on a grander scale. So I was in charge of marketing and promotions and programming and sales, and just kind of took all the knowledge that I gained from, working for 10, 12 years, 15 years doing that position, and just escalated it. So that's when we kind of ran through the walls. We became, CD 1025 at that point. After doing 101 for all these years, we transformed ourselves over a year's time from 101.1 FM that was sold to The Ohio State University to 102.5. And we did that for another 10 years, another decade. Man, I was looking right at it, and I totally, once again, didn't even see the timer. I hate when I do that. So we did that for another 10 years. But when we moved to 102.5, I basically took the role of the owner and became the owner of the radio station in 2010. And then much to everyone's disbelief, I actually survived and succeeded. We moved the station. We moved it from the home of 503 South Front Street to its last and final location, 1036 South Front Street, down the street. So now, halfway in between where it started at 1721 South High Street, where its middle life was at 503 South Front Street, and then to its final resting place at 1036 South Front Street, which is, so we did that for 10 years, leased the signal for 10 years, tried everything I could to purchase it, and was unable to. Never got the financing to buy 102.5 FM. We went off the air very briefly. Sort of was like, well, when did you know you were going off the air? I was like 10 years ago, because you can look, and there's a contract that said if you don't have this, you're off the air. We went off Halloween, Fright Night, Scary Night, Halloween of 2020, no, was it 20, whatever. Anyway, yeah, 2020, and went back as 92.9 and did that for the couple years that we did, and then that was the end of it. It just was unable to ever purchase the license. The license is the expensive part. We had all the equipment, we had all the potties, we had all the stuff, we were making money, but just owning the license was the unattainable dream that just never facilitated itself. And that, unfortunately, was the demise of the radio station, not having the license. So not being able to own it, I could no longer rent my apartment. I needed a house. So without renting the apartment, I became homeless, in theory. So the building then, the namesake building, 1036 South Front Street, has been vacant now for 18 months. Big Room Bar that was in there, which is today, is also the anniversary of the Big Room Bar, because that started on this day. So the Big Room Bar and the music venue started on August 21st and closed as well, 15 months ago. And that is also no more. So Columbus also lost a music venue. But tonight, the 21st of August of 2025, the HRC finally approved the sale, basically, of the property to a developer. There'll actually be an article tomorrow in Business First about that developer. His name is from Arcadia Development. So if you want to read it, you can read it. And basically, the property will now be sold. The building will be demolished, and a 6-story apartment building will be built there in its place of the old Swiss Chalet and the final home of WWCD Radio 101, 102.5, 92.9. That is the brief and painful history of the radio station. The questions of, will I ever do a radio station again? The answer is most unlikely, unless I hit the lottery, become super successful on YouTube or TikTok or something. A normal job will never pay enough bills to recreate that entity. And with what's happening with the industry as a whole right now, I don't know if it would be a viable business with any type of a debt load, to be honest, just for the fact that iHeart, Beasley, Saga, all of these large radio conglomerates have so butchered the industry, have so beat up the industry, no longer trying to grow new talent, looking to AI to replace talent. So no connection locally, not programming for local markets, just programming for this pablum of national marketing. It is unlikely that radio would come back, and it would be very difficult financially for me, or I would have stayed when we were at 102.5 to do it. So unfortunately, it is probably not in my career path to continue in the radio biz. So I will have to find other means of financial support. We'll figure it out. So we do. You keep going. You keep pushing. You keep working. But that's life, right? It was a hell of a run. As as I get further and further away from it, while I do miss it, have um, I have more than accepted the fact of the reality of it. I was always ready for that, unfortunately. I talked about it the other day, knowing that I'm the coolest guy you'll ever get to meet because I was attached to the radio station. Because the minute that I'm not, I will be no one and nothing in that respect. And that has clearly been proven true, whether by self-actualization, manifestation, or otherwise just talking about it so much, I have created a self-fulfilling prophecy, or the fact that I was correct in my determination that, yes, the station was its own beast. It was its own entity, its own living, breathing being that allowed myself and others throughout the years to be part of it, as opposed to me being part of me. That was never the case. I never believed that. I always thought that the station had a life of its own because it did manage to create this energy because it was sort of self-sustaining. It's very interesting to look back at the times because so many of them were very different. And the people, the places, the musicians, the stars, but the staff was, the true stars of all of it. The DJs, the ones that worked for, we all worked for less than getting rich money by any sense of the word, but it was doing something that mattered. I always said that we were a ragtag bunch of the island of misfit toys. Everybody was over the years. I don't care who they say they are, what they were, because no one was the same. I mean, if you're working in an accounting firm, everyone took Stats 770 in college, whatever school you went to, because you all had to have that class to become a CPA and become an accountant. If you're a doctor, everyone had to take physiology and, molecular biology and, organic chemistry and everything else. So that you have a lot of similarities. We didn't. No one had that in common. There was no common thread of education or socioeconomics. The one glue, the binding factor was the love of the music. And that was it. That was the puzzle piece that connected everybody. That was the binding. That was the glue. It was that passion, that love of music and being in that industry. So many people stayed well beyond where their careers allowed them to be, just for the fact that that is what they wanted to do, was the passion to do it. So my true salute and hats off is to the staff that worked at the station. No matter how long they worked there, they were always part of the station because they're part of the lore of the ecosystem that was created by the people there. So it's just, it was just a really interesting sort of snapshot of time. I think we were in the right place at the right time. The industry's changed so drastically. COVID did not help at all. It let the record labels see that they did not need to have the record reps that were our guides and our hand holders to the music industry. We were outside the sort of bracketed tiers of management over here and agents over here, where you have the venue owners and you have the talent. We were outside of those brackets. We lived in our own world because we would talk to the record labels. We didn't talk to management. We didn't talk to agents. We talked directly to the bands because we talked to the record labels, and they had a next echelon level above management, above the agents. So the bands were connected with us. So when a band would be coming through, we would just talk to the label, and the label would make that happen. They would cut through the red tape of, whoever the promoter was, whoever the band was, and say, oh no, you need to stop here on your way to the venue. And the only gatekeeper that we dealt with was the tour manager themselves. And most times the tour manager, because they were a small, close-knit world, once they got to know us, they would come back. Or even if they didn't know us, once they came to the door, they were like, oh, this is different. And they understood it because we knew who you were. we didn't say, okay, you're Allison who, Mosser. Okay, Mosser. Okay, so yeah, we're going to do this. It was like, no, we knew who Allison Mosser was. We knew her name. We knew her face. So we knew what their peccadillos were. We knew what not to do and what to do. And when someone would say, oh, I had a straight stand, we would go find what they needed and not just say, oh, well, you just deal with what you have. It's like we went the extra mile, and the staff did that. Everybody, from the interns to, me as the manager and the owner, we all took that time to create something. The localization of it is what allowed us to do that for so long. It was that we are part of the community. We weren't carpetbaggers, and we weren't someone that just sort of blithely went through our days, enjoying the spoils of our success. We worked. We put in the work to make sure that we were at promotions and that we gave back to the Arts Council and to the museum, to CCAD, to the small theaters like Catco, to Red Herring Theater, and to helping the charities. Where Andy, would get on the air originally when he was doing it, himself. He would be on the air for 48 hours and just be this blubbering mess after 2 days of not sleeping, trying to elicit funds to help local children's charities, raising over $1 million to help these, the most vulnerable in our society, the children. But that was all done sort of organically. None of that was some corporate overlord telling us we had to do these things. This is what we did for the community what we were part of. You could run into any one of the DJs at any given day at your local supermarket buying groceries. Every dollar that was made here was spent here because we lived here and we worked here. We weren't from New York, working in Ohio. We didn't have corporate offices somewhere in Atlanta, programming from Atlanta. We programmed for Columbus because people always said, well, we should do this in Cleveland. And it's like, well, we couldn't, because the way we did it is that what we programmed was for Columbus. With the local bands that we had and the artists that came through, we would have to program differently for Cleveland because it was a different city. It wasn't Columbus. So it was a very unique time, and I think we just were in the right place at the right time for those 3 decades. The memories are there. They have to be reminded sometimes and prodded and poked and dug out of, Jameson fueled, Jose Cuervo fueled, Sam Adams fueled, Miller Lite fueled adventures. But they're there. There's photographic evidence somewhere to prove it. Not that I want to be reminded of all of them, but some of them. But it was something that was very special, and I know the people that have lamented about it. It's weird because while understanding what we did was cool, because it was cool, we were a radio station, it's cool. The effects it had on people were never felt. Not understanding how we affected people. It was never really felt until we were gone. Because we didn't see people. There wasn't a two-way street. There wasn't this interaction. This was a push medium. We were pushing the information and the songs out to you. Everyone said, oh, it's so easy to be a DJ. And I said, it's actually probably one of the hardest jobs at the station to be a DJ. Because to fill the time in and to be able to stand in front of a microphone and talk coherently about the music and about the artists and to entertain and tell jokes that, similar to what I do here now, that I have no idea if that people, when I say something funny, people go, oh, that's funny. And they just sit there, and it falls flat, and dead silence. You have to keep doing it every day and coming back every day and doing it over and over and over again without that feedback, without understanding if it's working or it's not working. And talking about the music and the songs and the artists and knowing what they are, knowing the music and the songs, the artists. And my can't tell me how many times people are like, oh, who's this band? I'm like, I don't have a clue. It's like, I love this song, but I don't know who it is because that wasn't where my brain was. My brain was worried about, I have to go set up an event and, I've got to have how many people are going to show up and, what do I have to do to go make sure this event is managed? And do we have the truck packed? And we have all the equipment ready? Do we have this and this and this and this and all these things? So sure, I understood the music. I loved it, but I didn't know the bands. I didn't know the history of the replacements or, what year they were formed or how many. I didn't know any of that stuff. That was what the DJs knew, and that's what their expertise was. So that was a tough slog to be in that position, and we had great respect for the DJs and everybody that worked there because, again, this was a very weird, and anyone that says oh, it's a family, that was when you run screaming because it's probably completely dysfunctional. We were completely dysfunctional. Absolutely. It was the most dysfunctional job I think I ever had and loved every second of that dysfunction because we were exactly that. Because again, it was the island of misfit toys. We all belonged there for the fact that we were all quirky and weird and, out of our element everywhere else. But, in this place, we just fit fine. We were just, oh yeah, we're great. Yeah, there you go. We're just perfectly well where you're at. And, that's what made it work. It really was. It was the chemistry of the people and everything else. I did a testament to when the pandemic and we couldn't work and we all worked remotely and we figured out how to do it very quickly. But as soon as we were able to go back and work in person, it wasn't a mandate where I said, okay, well, everyone has to get back to work. We need to work. People wanted to work because it was that interaction that created so much synergy. It was that human interaction because sometimes the best meetings weren't the ones that were scheduled where we were talking about, okay, well, here's the thing we're doing for this client this week. They were the meetings that happened when we were talking in between something and a DJ would come up with the best promotional idea where it was supposed to be done by marketing or sales or somewhere else. No, a DJ would be like, what about this? I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Why don't we do that? Or one of the interns, 18-year-old kid that walks in the door, as I did when I walked in the door, with giving them complete trust to say, hey, I've never seen anything like this. What if we did it this way? Actually, we've never tried that way. That sounds like that might work. Try it. And if it did work, it was cheaper, faster, smarter, we would go with it. It didn't matter that it was your first day in the job. That wasn't the point. It was just a suggestion. If it worked, great. If it didn't work, great. Keep going. And that, to me, it created a philosophy that allowed us to have such freedom to grow and change and adapt and be able to, adjust with society that we did for 30 years and, survive in a very competitive business. The stories that I could tell about iHeart trying to destroy us, people won't believe, having our vehicles tagged by the competitors where they would take the ratings on 8 by 10 pieces of paper and completely cover the windshield of the truck, highlighting their ratings with markers, showing us, black letter, toward the bottom to try and demoralize us. Constantly trying to kick us out of the market because they wanted 100% of market share and didn't want any competition, to do whatever they could to get rid of us, calling in on clients and trying to poach people. But it never worked. Our resolve was too strong because we were like, no, that didn't really occur to us. It was like, their tactics were bully tactics. And if anything, they just made us stronger. When Star Wars came out, we all went to, and why we have the Death Star, why it still to this day exists in this facility, this space, is because when Star Wars came out, the second movie or third movie, we all went as a station to go see the Death Star, and that became Clear Channel, iHeartMedia to us, where they were the enemy, and we fought best when we had an enemy. We needed an enemy because we had to have somebody that we could fight against, and they made it easy for us because they would intimidate us and antagonize us and do all these things that it made it that was what we had to do. We had to survive. We didn't have a choice. We couldn't let them beat us. at whatever turn. So we didn't, no matter what. No matter what we had to do, we figured it out, and we always would prevail. And it was never about the ratings. If it was about the ratings, we would have gone out of business after the first few years. It was this tribe that grew up around us, that we whether we intentionally created it or inadvertently, I believe more so, because we didn't intentionally try and create this tribe, but inadvertently we did. And the fans, that the passion that they saw for the music, that they saw for the little engine that could, the little station that could in Columbus, Ohio, it created such a time of magic for the station that, it was, near the end, it was very difficult to understand how could this end, how could this stop, but it did. We all got to bear witness to that. It did, and that's just how life is sometimes. Everything succumbs to time. Time is the apex predator. Nothing survives it. Not the mountains, not the universe, not a little radio station in Columbus, Ohio. So I know that a couple of people texted me, ex-coworkers, and just thinking about you today, this nice. My response was, "Yep, happy birthday." So, to all the people that may see this or otherwise, the biggest stars were the fans, were the listeners. They really were, because they created their own tribe. When we would have a problem on social media, we never had to defend ourselves. People would come to our defense immediately and just sort of flood the social, stream with defending us for whatever reason it was that, whoever was trying to decry us for whatever reason, we didn't play this, or we played this, or this, or this bad commercial, or whatever. So it truly was this amazing phenomenon, this mass hypnosis, I guess. I don't even know what to call it, but of tribe. And that was the only way I was able to ever describe it to anybody, because it did. It created something that was, and again, unbeknownst to us, this was not something that we did with intention. When we looked at our mission statement, it never said the word tribe, but it created something that allowed for people to feel they had a place, that wasn't excluded, that it didn't matter. We didn't take political money. You never heard political advertising. You didn't hear strip club ads. You didn't hear pro-life, pro-choice ads, and that was with intention. All of that was with intention. And yes, we could have made money and done that, but it wasn't about that. It was that we wanted to make sure that we were sort of non-denominational, so that everybody could enjoy us, so that nobody felt excluded or felt like we were on one person's side or another person's side, or our views were this way or that way. We just tried at the most basic, purest of instincts was to play music that we thought was good, for the audience, and that's why we tried to stay within our sort of lane, but the guardrails fell sometimes, and we would go outside the guardrails, and it was okay, because sometimes we did good, sometimes we did bad, and sometimes the songs would work, sometimes they wouldn't. A heritage artist might release a new song, and we'd be like, oh great, we should play them, and they stunk. It was like, oh, that stinks, drop it. Oh my God, but that's so and so. They're a heritage artist. They've been around for 30 years. Yeah, but this new song sucks, so we shouldn't play it. And then hearing a band open for a national act, and then being able to add that band the next day when the record label's like, no, we're not pushing that. We're like, we don't care. We're adding it anyway because it sounds great. It's amazing. That's a cool ass song. Okay, because we think the audience should hear that. Because no one at the show, because this band's never been promoted, if you weren't at that show last night, you wouldn't hear that song. So we just play it. And then same with the local bands. That was something where just take a chance. Andy Davis did that with Watershed. They had such a great song. It was like, well, just play it. And it was like, all they could do is get fired. And what that turned into was our complete devotion to local, where we play local bands, not just, on a weeknight. We'll play them at this special. We played them every day at the bottom of the hour in normal rotation. And then whenever they just became part of, oh, well, here's, just along with, here's Coldplay and here's, the Pixies. Oh, and here's Watershed. Or here's, whoever. It didn't matter. So that created that. And then, we're just being out, going to stuff, doing things, trying to immerse ourselves in the culture so that we were at everything, on the air everywhere. That was one of our biggest internal sort of monikers, on the air everywhere, to make sure that we were at everything we could be at. It did not matter big or small. Whether it was the 934 Festival, which is going to happen in September, where it's, a few hundred people, or it's going to be a sold-out show at the Schottenstein Center for 20,000 people, trying to be at a Blue Jackets game. The reason that we got involved with the Blue Jackets, the reason that we got involved with them, so that iHeart didn't. There it was. That was the reason. Just so they wouldn't, so that we could have one more stronghold, we saw a station in Pittsburgh that did it and said, why can't we? Just because we're small, we're mighty. So give it a shot. And we gave them everything. We treated them like the princes they were, whereas the flagship station didn't. They didn't give them everything. They were just like, meh, we've got Ohio State football. We don't need you guys, but we'll broadcast you. We didn't think that way. We thought them as partners to make sure that they got everything. We gave them all the stuff we wanted to because, again, we wanted to make sure that where we were was the best place to be that could possibly be at that moment in any given place at any given time. No matter if it was a car dealership for, hey, song and dance pony show. We're giving away free balloons and hot dogs. Come down and buy a car. Or doing a live remote in front of the, Promo West for whatever show. Manchester Orchestra, Fits in the Tantrums. Who knows? So that was sort of the philosophy of it. And I think that's why it endeared to so many people. I could be wrong. It could have just been the music. I have no idea. I'm just talking at my ass. But I believe it was something that it had to do with the people that were there, that cared. The DJs cared. Brian, he stayed with us for forever. And when Brian left to go try something else, and that didn't work when he wanted to come back, I welcomed him with open arms because, he was a good guy and he wanted to do it. And, that was sort of part of him coming all the way from Washington. I still remember the first day I took him out. And that was just, part of it, part of the whole, the free-for-all of it. Sure, we had to, try and pretend to make ratings. Never did. We never became top 10 radio station. We got close in some demographics. If you split the hairs fine enough, we could be number one with 18 to 19-year-olds between the hours of 7 and 8 p.m. But, that was never, honestly, the goal. We knew that. It was nice because, if you had big ratings, you could get big money, but we just wanted to survive and just keep doing it. We just thought it was something necessary for the city, necessary for us, necessary for the audience and the artists. So, but like I said, it was a moment in time, and that time is gone. Anyway, so that's sort of the brief history. There's lots more you can read all about the radio station from lots of different people's perspective and views. Some good, some bad. Some people didn't like us at all, and that's all right. I got no hate for haters. Just don't have time for that. There's an existence for everybody. But I appreciate you bearing with me on this 35th anniversary of the radio station, the little engine that could in Columbus, Ohio. I always have to give shout outs to the founder, who is Roger Vaughn, and his family, because Roger's the one, I didn't find the station. I just worked there. I just took over. I stood on the shoulders of giants, as they say. Once Roger was done, and it was time for him to step away, I, stepped up and took that role, but I didn't start it. I was just part of it. and that's an important distinction. Wow, talked that one right out too. That's an important distinction because that's it's hard for everybody. Um, if you think about it, the people that are part of this, it's hard for everybody, because this was something that was personal to all of us that worked there for a long time. Um, this wasn't just a job. It was like, it was an adventure. Right. So, thank you to all the people that came and went over the years, to all the fans, to everyone that ever listened to the station, that moved away, the ones that sent letters that said, I've never sent a letter to a radio station, but I moved to Chicago and I got, that to the advertisers, the ones that kept us afloat, and some did. Some stayed with us forever, way, way, way beyond, I think, the normal capacity, because we created relationships with people. And that's, we've created friendships over the years with record reps and with bands and management. And, so it's been a lot more than just a job. It was never just a job. And not just for me, I think for everybody there. Anyone that stayed for more than a couple of years, they'll have fond memories because they stayed for a reason. And like I said, it wasn't for the pay, not for any of us. And it was for the passion of the music. It really was. It was that connection. So anyway, I appreciate you all so much. I really do. Thanks for being here and for just, continue to let me be my crazy me. Because, I need an outlet and I don't have that one anymore. So this is sort of what I do, and I appreciate it. This, go to it, watch it, make comment on it, because, I got to find something to do for Randy 2.0, because working construction ain't going to be it, because I can't take many falls like this anymore, because that was from falling the other day. So that's my very bruised and thankfully not dislocated shoulder along with the rest of me. And if I'm going to fall, hey, it should be with a belly full of Jameson, but I don't do that anymore either. What the hell happened? Anyway, appreciate you all. And I look forward to seeing you again here soon. And who knows, maybe we'll talk about this on the 36th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 40th anniversary. Who knows? If not, we'll talk about something completely different all again tomorrow. Thank you. I appreciate it greatly. I love everybody. As always, we fade to black. End stream. Happy birthday.